Hello and welcome to Samsung Now. This is where we look at the latest from Samsung, whether it's mobile phones, TVs, or in this case, Gear VR. So whichever device Samsung makes, and I have, I'll be reviewing it. The key difference in what these reviews will be is what I like to call user case reviews, where I've had the item for a particular period of time, usually a week or more, and I'm using the item day to day, and it's something that I've bought for myself personally with a view of keeping it and whether it fulfills a need that I have. And in these reviews I will explain to you sort of my hopes for the product, why I wanted it, what I liked, disliked, and what I hope in terms of sort of revisions for that product in the future, and whether of course I'm going to keep it or not. So we'll get cracking. What we're reviewing today is the very latest Gear VR, the 2017 edition. What makes this different is not so much, there's a few sort of finer points in terms of the cosmetics in terms of this device, but the fact that the 2017 edition comes with one of these babies. And this is a controller, and this makes all the difference. Now, to set up the Gear VR on your phone, and it's compatible with the Samsung S6 all the way up to the S8 Plus. And it also works with the Plus and Edge variants of the S6 and S7 too. It's very simple to set up. You take this little plastic cover off the front, which is just more of a cosmetic thing. Stop it looking pretty naff when it's nothing there. You slot in your S6, S7 or S8 in my case. You may want to know that I'm actually recording this video using the S8. And it has various connectors. There's adapters that you can swap and change. We're using the USB-C, but it's got adapters for the other phones too. Put your phone in, slot it in place, and away you go. The Oculus software is then prompted. You're prompted rather to download the Oculus software once this is in the device. That's the only way you can do it. So don't go hunting on the Samsung's website or Oculus's website. The only way that you can get the Oculus software to use with this device is if you actually have one of these. And as soon as you plug in your device into this, it'll prompt you to download it, and it'll do so automatically. Setup is pretty painless. You've got adjustable straps. You have to put these in to begin with. It's pretty straightforward. You can change your focus with this little wheel here, which moves this forward and backwards, which with my eyes, trust me, it's a good idea because I've got a slightly dodgy right eye. And away you go. You tighten the straps, do that, and then it sort of goes through a basic sort of setup procedure. And then there's another one that relates, which is sort of extends like beyond that, where it asks you to set this up. Very simple again. Finds your phone, connects to your phone, then you do a sort of figure 8 motion with this, and then you lay it flat down and on a surface, and it's connected. From there, you go to the Oculus store, of which there's some sort of immediate experiences that you can experience, and it's worth going through. There's some sort of awareness and setup ones. I think Oculus do, or it's with Samsung, where it's like, what you can do in VR and what to expect from VR. So that's always a good start. And then some of the other experiences in terms of sort of the news reports and documentaries and shorts and what have you are also worth a go, as well as the sort of the smaller animated movies are also worth, good for kids and pretty much good for adults too. And then of course you have the games as well. There's some great games out there such as End Space and Drop Dead that you can sort of get your teeth into. Overall, it's very easy to use. It's very immediate, which is one of the things I wanted. I wanted something that was, that I could just get my phone slotted in and away I go. a bit of history in my terms of my experience with VR. I had a HTC Vive and a PlayStation VR last year, both of which I sold back on eBay simply because after sort of having them for some time, I got so tired of all the setup processes involved in getting them, ready to go. So the PlayStation VR wasn't too bad, but the HTC Vive was a real pain. Unless you've already got a room set up for VR, it's a case of moving a ton of furniture, getting the lighthouses set up. A real pain, and I just lost heart in doing that. Even though the experiences with the HTC Vive were amazing, it didn't. I couldn't be bothered half the time because of all the faff and calibration and getting everything set up. So eventually, I grew tired of that. So when the Samsung S8 came out, I knew that I was likely to get it based on the previous review I did with the Samsung DeX. But also this too, this was kind of compelling to me because I did enjoy VR, but I didn't enjoy the setup. And this negates the need for an awful lot of setup. You've not got a ton of wires hanging around you. You've got your headset, your earphones rather, which connect to your phone and then slot in. So it's very simple and very quick. The setup, is brilliant. You're thoroughly guided throughout, and the Oculus Store and the Samsung VR app too is well set out and easy to use. And also they both use these as well, so that's pretty decent too. The experiences in terms of the shorts and the documentaries are also pretty good. The standard is come a long way in the last couple of years, tremendously so. And there are some great games, as I've noted, as I've said, sort of End Space and Drop Dead. So, and that use the controller as well. So that's pretty good. So that's kind of what I liked about the Gear VR. I love the experiences, and overall I do love this device. But there are some caveats, there are some dislikes. The padding on this is very, very shallow. It's not very deep, it's not particularly comfortable. After about an hour, you start to really notice that you're wearing it. It's perhaps not so bad as it is with, say, the HTC Vive, or probably the best one is the PlayStation VR, which is pretty comfortable, although it did add some pressure at the back of my head. But this is overall pretty good, but it could do with an awful lot more padding. It doesn't seem to be thick enough for my liking, and I don't have it very tight, so overall it doesn't feel that comfortable after about an hour. And if you're watching, say you're using the Netflix app and you're watching a film or anything in that, after a while you really do begin to notice it, and you start adjusting it and fiddling around with it. The other I forgot to mention this, one of the likes I did like is they got a lot of notifications within it. So if you had your phone beep or somebody sent you a text, you knew you had a text and whom from. So I like that aspect too. But back to the things I wasn't too keen on. So yeah, we had the padding. The other thing which is really annoying, and I think this is probably more of a software issue, is the controller loses sync a great deal. I found that an awful lot, and then to regain that sync was a real pain, sometimes having to remove the phone completely and put it back in for it to gain sync. Thankfully, that doesn't take very long, but the fact that you have to do that sometimes in the middle of an experience or a game or whatever is a real bind. And I also found that the swiping sort of touchpad, which is similar to what you find on the HTC Vive, wasn't responsive sometimes. It just wasn't doing what and I think that's probably more to do with the software update than the actual problem with the device. There are only a handful of games that take sort of use the controller, but those games are pretty good. As I mentioned, End Space and Drop Dead, and there are a few more, but not too many right now. But I imagine there'll be more to come, and I imagine existing games will be updated also. But overall, there's not a huge amount of content out there that allows you sort of to really use this as sort of it's meant to be used. So the other thing is your phone has to be impeccably clean, or I would recommend it be impeccably clean before you put it in this, because any smudge, any fingerprint, anything like that will show up Also, these get kind of greasy, kind of easy, so I would always make sure that they're clean. It's pretty easy to keep clean, but it's perhaps some alcohol and a wipe. Even now I can see these are pretty grubby. But yeah, so those are some of the things I'm not too keen on. Thankfully it doesn't fog, but it does get greasy. So will I keep it? Well, I think I will. You know, it answers and covers a lot of the problems that I had with VR in terms of setup and everything. And this is very quick and immediate. You know, if I just want to jump into a game or an experience or watch a bit of Netflix on it, it's very immediate, very quick, and very easy to do. The experiences too are kind of down my street as well. So, you know, if you like sort of documentaries and travel and so on, and some games, and you know, that aren't too complex, they're pretty easy, then this is pretty good for that. Overall, it's pretty smooth and not very glitchy. You know, admittedly, I'm using an S8. I don't know what it's like with the S7 or the S6, but I imagine, you know, it's pretty decent with those too. There's no real screen door effect. The screen on the S8 is tremendous, and I hear that it's so it is on the S7, and I had an S6 a while ago, and that was pretty decent too. The controller makes an enormous difference. If you don't have a control, if you have one of these already, but you don't have a controller, I would really recommend you buy a controller. Some of you, quite a few of you in the US, got one of these for free, courtesy of Samsung, which was very nice of them. Sadly, they didn't do anything similar or anything remotely similar in the UK. We just had to stump up the cash. Thanks very much, Samsung. But yeah, I would really recommend, you know, if you've got an S8, it's a no-brainer. I really, really do think it's a great product. You know, it takes away a lot of the hassle that you get with VR, and I think as a starting point for VR for a lot of people, this is the best way to do it. It's, you know, it's pretty comfortable. It's kind of light. You know, after an hour, you do notice you're wearing it, and it can get a bit uncomfortable, and you kind of have to take it off a little bit. But overall, it's okay. For me, I've not experienced any light bleed from around. I experienced much more with the HTC Vive and the PlayStation VR. Hardly any, if any, with this, so it's pretty decent. I suppose it depends on what kind of face you have, really. But yeah, you know, if you already have a Gear VR, get one of these. If you have an S8, get one of these things, both together. I really recommend it. So overall, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, and I'm very happy that I got this. Next time we're going to be reviewing the Samsung Gear S3 smartwatch, which I've had for a couple of weeks now, and I'll be posting that online in the next week or so, so please look out for that. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Thanks very much. Wow, look at this. This virtual reality is really cool. Look, they're like in my hands. God, the graphics are a bit blurry, but just look at the definition and the this haptic feedback is amazing. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, hold on. No.